Welcome to the College Football Halftime Show presented by iShares by BlackRock. I'm Aaron Sharoni, joined by Brady Quinn and Leroy Horde. Plenty of action on tap today. We're going to take a look at some of the big games, starting with Ole Miss and Arkansas. The score right now is 17-0. Arkansas. It's been a fun game. I mean, there's been, some ups and downs, right?
So a lot of injuries. I mean, both quarterbacks getting knocked out of the game. Bo Wallace was able to come back in. He's struggling, though, passing the football. He can't drive off that right ankle. That seems to be the issue. But Arkansas is having their way at the line of scrimmage. They've been able to run the ball extremely effective, which they've done last week versus LSU, and that was their game plan coming into it.
Well, yeah, they're doing whatever they want. They're not having as much success as they did early on in the game, but if they don't do anything offensively in Ole Miss, it's going to be a long day because Arkansas is doing just enough to keep the ball away from them, get some first downs, and, they're going to score more points.
Brady, you mentioned some injuries there, so we're going to check that out because we've got the highlights coming right up. Quite a few injuries, actually. Starting things off, a rainy day in Fayetteville. Sort of ominous considering what happens later. Brandon Allen throws a 25-yard touchdown pass to Keon Hatcher, putting Arkansas on the board 7-0. Here is Bo Wallace's fumble. Trey Flowers recovers for Arkansas. Here's Adam McFain. He makes a 22-yard field goal, making it 10-0 Arkansas. Alex Collins with a 1-yard rushing touchdown on 4th down, makes it 17-0 Arkansas. Now, here's Bo Wallace's fumble, and he hurts his leg. Not good. Arkansas recovers. Wallace heads to the locker room. He would return later, but doesn't look good, right, guys?
No, that never feels good.
Well, that's kind of what Treadwell's ankle looked like. I mean, that's how he got bent back.
Yeah.
So.
And now here's Brandon Allen gets hurt.
Knee right in the back.
And he leaves for the locker room. Guys just going down left and right. And the interesting thing is here's Brandon Allen's younger brother, Austin, coming in. So how about that? But Wallace is back in the game here, throws, and it is intercepted by Tevin Mitchell.
That guy was too open too long.
Yeah, and here's a 37-yard missed field goal by Adam McFain. That's where we are through the half, right? What do you think?
Yeah, well, I think at this point, again, we talked about the injuries to the quarterback position. That's going to affect the game big time, and in particular, Bo Wallace. You see he can't drive off that back foot. It caused an interception, one of the last plays Ole Miss had before half. And then you go to the Arkansas side of the football, again, a backup quarterback, Austin Allen now in at play. They're going to hand the football off. They're going to be extremely conservative, being that they're up 17 points right now, and the fact that you've got an inexperienced quarterback there at the helm.
Well, now, as it looks, Ole Miss is in much trouble losing their quarterback than Arkansas is because Arkansas runs the ball a lot anyway and doesn't rely on their quarterback. Bo Wallace is a big part of that offense. So if he can't get going and he needs to be replaced, you got to wonder whether Ole Miss is going to be able to do enough to win.
Yeah.
Speaking of replacing, elsewhere in the SEC, Florida fired Will Muschamp after their loss last week, allowing him to coach the team's final 2 games. Players obviously showed their support for him, but the question that we got to talk about is, who's the next guy going to be? And I know we joked, I said it should be you, Leroy, because you would scare everybody on that team, judging by our interactions in the green room.
No, Leroy would be a player's coach. He'd be great.
I don't know. I think he might scare him. What do you think, though, Leroy? And realistically, who could be the next guy?
Here's the thing. It's hard, when you're not around and you don't see enough of the coaches that qualify for a job like that, it's hard to say who should be the next guy. But, I mean, if I'm Florida, I'd go try to get the old ball coach. I'd go try to get Steve Spurrier back. Hey, come finish it out down here. Let's put this together. Help put it together, and then you can go on.
I like that because typically whenever you have a team fire more of a defensive-minded coach, they're going to come back with an offensive-minded coach.
Correct.
And if it's not going to be the old ball coach, I think Mike Gundy, the head coach for Oklahoma State's done a fantastic job. They've struggled this year because of injuries, not only at the quarterback position, but also elsewhere on the team. But I think he would be one of the guys I'd look at as far as coming in. He'd be a breath of fresh air. He's a guy who played quarterback, so he understands the position, and he understands from a player's perspective. I think he'd be a great fit at Florida.
Another situation on the coaching front, I can't wait to talk about this one because it concerns the school of somebody on this desk. Michigan interim AD Jim Hackett will make the call on Brady Hoke. Now, we all know how that has been going over there.
He's out.
So, yeah, assuming that he's fired, hypothetically speaking, who should replace him? Leroy, you're the alumnus.
That's a bigger issue because they don't have a permanent AD yet. And so until that is done, you don't know how that guy's going to come in and choose a coach. So it might take a little bit longer. They're not going to go get a coach or determine the fate of Brady Hoke before they get an athletic director. So Brady Hoke might be around a little bit longer just until they get a permanent guy at athletic director.
And look, Brady Hoke's a great guy. He's done a ton in the community. I think he's, one of those guys who the players enjoy to play for. Unfortunately, things haven't worked out for him. They've got to look elsewhere. And I think by not hiring an AD soon, they're only delaying the process. They're only hurting themselves for not getting one of the top-of-the-line candidates. We already heard Harbaugh's name was kind of in the mixture there. But I don't think, from the rumors that are going on, his wife wants to leave the Bay Area. So it doesn't seem like he's coming to Michigan.
I don't know. Looking at that snow lately, the Bay Area or Michigan? I love Ann Arbor, but not in December. That's all I have to say. All right. Remember, everybody, download the CBS Sports app for instant scores, stats, and late-breaking news from all of today's games. Get it now at cbssportsapp.com. And stick around because we'll be right back after this quick break. Welcome back to the College Football Halftime Show presented by iShares by BlackRock. I'm Aaron Sharoni, joined by Leroy Horde and Brady Quinn. Michigan and Notre Dame on the desk. We're going to talk about Notre Dame later. But first, let's get to this. It took all of 1 week for Melvin Gordon's rushing record to fall as Oklahoma freshman Samaje Perine rushed for 427 yards against Kansas. Now, Brady, you've called games in the Big 12 this year. Are you surprised?
No, I'm not surprised. I mean, Trevor Knight, the quarterback for Oklahoma, was out, so you figured whoever's going to play quarterback for Oklahoma was going to rely on the run game. And I think looking at that Kansas defense doing a couple games, they've struggled a little bit against the run, especially on the road. Teams have been able to dictate the pace of play by running the football against them. And right now, unfortunately, having a coach getting fired, now having an interim head coach, it's just tough to play with that kind of enthusiasm and energy. And Kansas coming off a close, almost upset versus TCU last week now, doesn't seem to have any energy left, anything left for the rest of their schedule, Oklahoma in particular today.
427 yards as a freshman. But there's nothing left to do. Like, I didn't even play as a freshman. This guy rushed for 427.
He's showing you up.
Yes, it's a big deal. It's a huge deal. I mean, there's only been, 3 guys to rush for more than 400 yards?
Yeah.
And he's one of the 3?
Libra, let me ask you this. So how did this record fall for the second straight week?
I mean, you know what happens as a running back? You have, like, a couple of big plays. When Barry Sanders ran for 2,000 yards, he had a couple of games where he had 280-yard runs. And so it kind of just adds up. And then before you know it, you're at 250, 300. And then you just kept going. I mean, he had 34 carries, for 427 yards. But, I guarantee you, if you look at the runs, he had probably a couple of 40-yard or a couple of 30. And you never can count on that.
So who's going to break it next week? Come on.
It's got to be go back to Melvin Gordon, right? Melvin Gordon's going to break it next week?
I don't know. He's getting smashed up pretty good today because Iowa said, if you're going to beat us, you're not going to beat us with that guy.
Yeah, he needed 240 yards a game to beat the single-season record that Barry Sanders set in 1988. Yes. He needed 240 yards a game, and he's not even close to that today.
Well, Leroy and I are going to bet more peanut butter cups on that because he already owes me 5. All right, let's look at some other games. Ohio State defeated Indiana 42-27. I'll withhold my personal fan opinions, and you can talk about it, Brady.
Well, again, we saw J.T. Barrett play an extremely efficient game. He's a guy who should be up for the Heisman, given the way he's progressed and played this season. Ohio State's run defense got a little bit exposed. They were at home. I think a lot of people expect this game to be a little bit more out of hand. We'll see how the College Football Playoff Committee views this win in particular next week with the rankings.
Yeah, I mean, you questioned it, while the game was going on. I kind of agree with you, but listen, a win is a win. When you get to the Big Ten championship, if you're Ohio State, all that's going to work itself out. And so I don't think they're going to look back at this game and say, you know what, they didn't really handle Indiana, but, it'll work itself out because they got a Big Ten championship. They'll have a quality win there. A couple of conferences. I mean, the Big 12 doesn't even have a
they don't have a
conference championship. So if they have a chance to get over it, it'll be that period of time.
Yeah.
Boston College, Florida State is another game in progress right now. It's 17-all. I know you guys have an opinion on this one.
Look, Florida State's a second-half team. We've seen this all year long. I think they've trailed in the second half 5 times, the fourth quarter 4 times, but they always come back and win. Jameis Winston's their quarterback, regardless of what people's opinions are of him off the field. He does a fantastic job in the fourth quarter when it matters most.
They were up at halftime, and then now they're tied. So is this half going to be different?
It could be. I don't know. We'll see.
It's already different. Usually they
I'm
blow
saying,
teams out.
no, they're not blowing teams out. In the second half, they come back to beat teams.
Okay.
So
We'll
that's
have
what
to
I'm
wait and
saying.
see.
Yeah.
That means you guys will just have to stick around for the post game. Arizona at Utah. Update there, 21-10 Arizona. So Utah came back a little bit from where we were earlier.
Yeah, Utah's defense has been tough all year long. We talked about it before. The Pac-12 South, one of the toughest divisions in the Pac-12 in all of college football right now. And I think Anu Solomon's one of those guys who they weren't even sure who the quarterback was going to be at Arizona coming into the season, but he's done a fantastic job running that fast-paced Rich Rodriguez offense out there in Arizona. And he's really, to me, been one of the subtle stars in the Pac-12 quarterback that's going to be the next guy who I think has a shot at winning the Heisman in the future.
Well, Utah's a little banged up too. They've had a ton of injuries, but you got to give a lot of credit to, I don't believe I'm going to say this, Rich Rod. I mean, he's come in there. He's done a heck of a job for Arizona. And
you wish he was still at Michigan.
No, here's the thing.
Rub it in,
His
Bree.
style, his coaching style and what he does offensively fits Arizona and a Pac-12 team better than it fits a team in the Big Ten. And that's nothing against him. It just fits better in Arizona. And so he's an excellent coach. Give him credit for what he's done in Arizona, but it's a better fit there.
You sure Michigan wouldn't want to find out? And that job's probably going to be open at the end of the season. I'm sure they maybe could hire him back. Any chance?
All right. We're going to get our friends back to the game. That'll do it for us. Remember to keep it here on CBSSports.com for the best in college football. And, of course, join us for our post-game show.